Let me introduce Dr. Narendra Batra. He is the International Olympic Committee member in India. That's a very honored position. He is president of the International Hockey Federation. He is president of the Indian Olympic Association. These three honors no Indian has held ever before together. He will be talking about the power of sport to bring change. I would be framing the questions in that manner. The second panelist is Dr. Deepa Malik. She is a very well-known athlete, para-athlete, the first woman athlete to win a silver medal in the Olympic Games at Rio Paralympics in the shot put event, for which she was honored with the Arjuna Award, the Khel Ratna, and the Padma Shri. She is one of the most decorated sports athletes of India. It's at parallel with any other normal athlete, able-bodied athlete. Her story is also very inspirational. She will tell us about change and how to be the change that you want to see. We are at an epoch-making moment in history. We are actually too close, and in the midst of this epidemic or pandemic, we really can't see its great implications for the world. But as over the decades, the devastation that it's caused, even in this short span, even if we were to find a vaccine in 6 months, 1 year, as they're saying, still the damage would have been epoch-making. It's changed everything. It's changed our way of life. It's changed, shocked us. We're all in our burrows. A small little virus has actually brought us to our knees, if I may say. We're all in a lockdown, almost 8 billion people of the world. It's impossible to even imagine this a few months ago. So in the background, we will start by asking Dr. Narendra Batra. This is a common question for both, so I'll let Dr. Narendra Batra ji answer it first. See, what are the immediate changes because of COVID-19 that you observe in your life, and how are you dealing with on a personal level and on a professional level? Dr. Batra.
Thank you, Gurveer ji. I think this, I would say during my lifetime, this is the first experience we have had of such a kind of pandemic. So firstly, what it has taught me personally is patience. I am one who wanted to finish up things the same day, won't leave it to the next day. Yes. So that's what it's taught me. The first thing is patience. The second thing is be kind, because you do not know what's going to happen the next moment. So it's taught me a lot of things at the personal level, and the connection which I was missing all the time, that I almost travel for about 220 to 240 days a month within or outside India. So it's really made me feel what the family is, what the family values are. So a lot of, I think for me, it has done personally at a personal level, at the level of a human being, good changes. But when you say what changes do we see at the sports level, or how do we see it? Right now, the situation is total lockdown. So there is no activity going on. Every athlete, whether they are at SAI centers or at their home, they are being given a program by their high performance directors, chief coaches. They are following that is being monitored, whether through video conferencing or through reports, or whichever patterns every single federation is following. Everyone has their own pattern.
Dr. Batra, that question will come up a bit later, but I just wanted to understand, for example, your world travel, your IOC interactions, your NOC interactions, how are they impacted? Olympics and the athletes is a big chapter. We'll come to that.
No, we are interacting on like you have. We are today on Zoom, but they have different mediums. So I think we have had about 10 meetings with IOC. I've had about 10-12 meetings with my International Hockey Federation also, and similarly with IOA also. So we are all interacting. Whether
the technology is coming to your aid. We are grateful for that.
Absolutely. It's like we are up to date informed, so there is no backlog.
I must share that I've never had a webinar ever in my life, but preparing for this one, I just feel, why weren't we using this before? Why were we endlessly going to offices? So I see that change in you in that. So now may I pose that question to you, Deepa ji? What are the immediate changes in your personal and professional space? How has COVID-19 impacted you immediately?
Definitely, the movement is restricted. I I'm somebody whose DNA is outdoors. And I think thanks to this DNA, I could cope up with the previous quarantines of my life, which were imposed on me by the medical conditions that I have been in time and again, whether it was my childhood 4 years experience of tumors and paralysis and surgeries, rehabilitation, to learning to walk all over again, to being quarantined with my daughter's illness. When she met with an accident, she had a head injury, she had hemiplegia, and again 3-4 years of continuous rehab training, hospital, keeping her away from infections, followed by my own recurrences of tumors at the age of 30 years, and again getting paralyzed, 14 months on the same bed in the same hospital. So, but every time such conditions happen in my life, or so-called quarantines, stay home, stay safe, recovery, I think this has again come in my life, and it is a crude reminder of those days. But at the same time, it also reminds me that this too shall pass. Because I could contain my positivity then, I am retaining it now. And
so actually, in other words, if I may sum this a bit of your, it's very important for the listeners to what your hardships of earlier life
yes,
have actually inoculated you. You already have a vaccine against other damages.
absolutely.
This epoch-making
Yes,
events
so
of the world.
definitely.
So you're prepared because of earlier adversity.
Gee, so there is some kind of a mental preparation of being quarantined or being contained in a space where you can't move out, and also have the experience of the fact that when you retain your positivity and you find ways to deal with this, and you can mentally remain healthy,
Yes.
it becomes easier to cope up with. On a personal note, well, I have been playing for my country for past 10 years, continuously in the training camps, one major event after the other. So this was probably a time when I was transiting from the role of an athlete into the role of an administrator. So it has given me the buffer time to learn about certain things. I'm learning the bylaws, I'm talking to people and acquiring knowledge. Like I just made a request to Patra sir also to help me learn these roles, because it is a very big role of responsibility.
Yeah,
And
so you're in the midst of a change. While the world is also changing, you're on a personal level.
So the way the entire planet is rebuilding, I'm also rebuilding and transiting into a new role.
Terrific.
So yeah.
The second part of this question is, first to Narendra Bhai, what would you see as a new normal? In other words, the big ticket events, how would they be impacted? How would athletes be impacted? How would spectators, sponsors, TV broadcasters, all the stakeholders in the realm of world sport, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, it's all come to a stand, like many things, like all other walks of life. But how do you see this impacting as a permanent damage or a permanent change, if I may say, or the new normal as it is being called? ये सब चीजों पे क्या असर होने वाला है, कैसे चलने वाला है, नरेंद्र बत्रा जी?
I think थोड़ा सा I would say it won't इतना मैं नहीं कह सकता कि कोई बड़ा major impact हो. Right now I do know that you have a complete no tournament is happening till December, so everything starts from January 2021, providing that you have a vaccine and things do improve. And sponsors, due to lockdown, yes, I know their financials are going down, their cash reserves are going down, but the way I see things, the way my personal feeling is, that's my personal feeling. I don't know how the world reacts, but I think within 1.5 to 2 years from now, you will have things going at the same pace the way they are going today. I don't see it happening maximum 2 years. They'll be back at the same pace, and life will go on. It's just that now you have TV and so many. The 1918, which happened, where much more people died because there was no TV, no newspaper, nobody realized what happened. So now TV, social media is really scaring people. But I do have a feeling that countries will come out. TV and broadcast, they will definitely be suffering. Big ticket events will be definitely, there will be problems, but we have a lot of big ticket events coming in India and also outside India. We have Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, Asian Youth Games, Commonwealth Youth Games, Asian Beach Games, so Winter Olympics. In India, we have a Hockey World Cup, Hockey Men's World Cup, IOC session in India. We are bidding
Yes,
for
all the big ticket events. But
Sorry?
Narendra ji, abhi hum dekh rahe hain straight away that some of the sports, they try to play behind closed doors, no spectators. So usme bhi players ko bhi nahi maza aa raha tha. There's some of the comments I heard, but of course for the moment they've shut down and they're hoping to start football in July, August, September sometime. But वो मजा नहीं रहेगा अगर हम वापस नहीं आ सके स्टेडियम्स में, बिकॉज जो एक लाइव परफॉर्मेंस है टेलीविजन तो उसको मल्टीप्लाई करता है, बिना क्राउड के टेलीविजन व्यूअरशिप भी गिर जाएगी जब तक वो लोगों की पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं होगी.
My feeling from sports world is that until you have a vaccine, anywhere there is a physical contact or you come into physical contact, I don't think those events are going to happen until you have a foolproof system that there is a vaccine, which is a cure. But no athlete would like to go with a pressure on his mind and then give 100%. I don't think that's going to happen. And the way things are moving at a faster pace, I think vaccine should be there by November, December. And January onwards, things should start easing up a little bit.
Okay, that's your view. Well, I pose the same question, Deepa ji. Would you take it? What do you see would be the new normal? It is like Bhavishwani. You have to be like, you're going to have to tell the future. So let's see what's your take on this?
See, if I speak on behalf of the Paralympic fraternity in my country, and we have already suffered lack of attention. So I think हमारे लिए ये वक्त दूसरे खेलों के लिए से दूसरा थोड़ा सा अलग है. This is the first time हम लोगों को इतनी online visibility भी मिल रही है, क्योंकि हमारे जो athletes हैं, para athletes हैं, they are participating hugely in spreading positivity. Their online exercise videos are coming out, and right now, since everybody is under a lockdown and everybody is only looking at either the television or they're looking at their social media handles, I think I personally have felt that my following on the digital platform has increased, and so has the following of my Paralympic committee page. This has also given us the time to focus on sports, sciences and nutrition, and high performance. We are also attending. So for the first time, the para athletes are getting digitally literate. Yeah, they're getting digitally literate, and they're also becoming a part of these online various sessions held by the Sports Authority of India. They're almost 2 to 3 sessions held every day, and they're getting exposed to this kind of knowledge. We ourselves in Paralympic Committee of India, there is a syllabus being formed. We are converting the international various rules and guidelines, medical classifications into Hindi language. We are utilizing it to convert into Braille right now. So I think for us, it is a very good opportunity to increase our basic sports knowledge in terms which the literature which has been missing in India. So this time is really given us, and we are also reaching out to Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan. We are reaching out to various schools, and all the focus is in communication right now, and communication, in other words, means awareness. So hopefully when we are beyond this lockdown and COVID-19 situation, people would be more eager and more aware about para sports, and we will get better viewership and better interest of the financiers, the CSRs, because this has been a reality check, and a little bit of humanity, I won't say little bit, I think a lot of humanity factor has risen, and we will have a different view and a different kind of consideration and thought process on the basis of humanity towards the physically challenged sports person.
All right. So you see this actually as a transformational and bringing you at par with the normal able-bodied athletes.
Yes.
Right. May I now, Dr. Batra, you have risen very rapidly. I've watched you, your rise in the world of sports administration. And I said earlier, you occupied 3 positions which no Indian has ever held. Of course, we have another IOC member in India, Neeta Ambani and you. And that's a great honor for India to have 2 members. And as we all know, the International Olympic Committee is the world's most exclusive club, called the 5 Rings Club, if I may. And you happen to be one of the 100-odd people which control the world of Olympic sport. So what was your rise attributed to? Was it your personal qualities of head and heart, or was it your great social networking, or was it providence? What took you where you are?
Do I have 2-3 minutes to answer this question?
Of course you have.
We want to hear.
I would say sheer providence and destiny. See, I started playing the game of hockey, field hockey.
Yes, you were a hockey player, yes.
So I played at all levels, came into India camp also, but never was able to represent India. So that's my bad luck. So when that happened, in 80, I left sports altogether. I was in camps in 79, 78. 80, I left sports altogether. And 81, I shifted to Delhi from my home place, that's Srinagar in Kashmir. I belong to Srinagar.
Yes.
So I'm a state subject, used to be a state subject, not anymore. So I left sports and came and settled down in my family business and started taking it forward. That was 81. Problem started in Kashmir in 90. So 96, Dr. Farooq, a very good family friend, and my personal friend became the chief minister. And he asked me, would you like to do something for sports in the state of J&K? J&K didn't have the synthetic turf or AstroTurf. So I said, if you put that, he said, in 6 months, I'll do it. So I joined him. So 98, we were able to revive the sports and do a lot for sports over there. Then because I got my admission in colleges and schools everywhere because of a sports quota. When you are a national representative, you represent the national team. So you get in sports quota. So I got my college, law admission everywhere due to sports quota. So I didn't see any nationals happening. I was made president of Hockey Jammu and Kashmir. And I asked Mr. KPS Gill, the then president, sir, if you're not doing the nationals, I'll host it in Jammu. He said, no, it costs a lot of money. I said, I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. So I did the nationals in J&K in Jammu in 2000. He thought he's some person who has a lot of money and a fool, maybe. So he said, okay, I'll make you senior vice president, and made me chair of the finance committee, and maybe I'll host some more national championships. In 2001, I had some problems with Mr. KPS Gill on certain issues, whatever there, I don't go into detail. So I went into that was Indian Hockey Federation, then the men's one. In 2002, I go into litigation. In 2008, I win that case where the sports code, that's the sports code, age of 70, terms, everything, got accepted.
Yes.
The world body then did not agree for men and women to be separate. The new body, Hockey India, was formed in 2009, May. And 2010 was the Hockey World Cup in India. When I say destiny, I was a blacklisted person in IOA. Nobody liked my face, a person non grata. So nobody wanted to see me because I got the age, tenure, everything done. So for me, sports was totally over. I just get a call from Mr. Kalmadi and Mr. Banot that we are making Hockey India. We would like you to be treasurer of that. I said, are you sure you want me to be a treasurer again? Because the issues in 2000 were basically on financial grounds. So they agreed. So I became treasurer of Hockey India then. And 2010 February was the World Cup. In October 2009, Mr. Mattu, the Secretary General, Mr. Aslam Khan, the Secretary General, resigns. So now I am holding Secretary General and Treasurer, 2 posts. In January 2010, when the World Cup is in February, the president resigns. So for a change, I'm holding 3 posts. I'm saying destiny. Everything that was falling into me. So we handled the World Cup. The World Cup was done. That is how I came into the Indian hockey. I don't know what happened, how the FIH people, because I did the World Cup, they never knew me. They said a person wearing kurta, pajama and chappals. Who is he? We don't even know. Is he capable or not? So they just liked the way World Cup happened, and they offered me seat in the executive board of International Hockey Federation. So 2014, I become the board member of International Hockey. In 2014, a commitment is made to the then president of FIH that because he reaches the age of 70 in 2016, they'll give him a 4-year extension as is done in IOC for 5 members. So it was decided. Just a month before the election in 2016, the board somehow backs out. They don't give it to him. So he cannot contest because they had somebody else in mind. He all of a sudden comes to me, Batra, I want you to contest. I said, sir, I don't even know anyone in FIH. Hardly 10 people I know. Nobody even knows me who I am or my name or anything. He said, no, I will do work for you. So I stood as a candidate in 2016 as a proxy because there was no one else standing over there. Then I realized that I have to do everything myself because you get a 6-month period between the election and nomination. So he was just talking on people, but you have to personally meet the people. So in 45 days that time, I traveled 78 countries. Sounds very absurd or stupid, but I did 78 countries in 45 days, flew all over the world. It was like flying from Geneva to Austria, Austria to Belgium, drive down to Holland and sleep at Czech Republic. That's how I was doing 5 countries, 4 countries in a day. So in 2016, I get elected as president of the International Hockey Federation because I went around, met everyone, explained my viewpoint. So I got elected as the first non-European president of the International Hockey Federation in the last 96 years. So that's how it happened. So when you again I say destiny, just one day I am in Lausanne for my hockey work. I get a call that where are you? I said I'm in Lausanne. So he said, can you come to our office? I said I can come. What time? So I go there. So I'm just told we would like you to file your nomination for the post of IOC member.
Wow,
I was just shocked. I said, what are you saying?
तो आपको अभी तक जो मैं सुन रहा हूँ, Dr. Batra, just let me interject for a minute. You're surely destiny played its part. आपको तो बुला के किस्मत ने दिया है सब कुछ.
बिल्कुल दिया. मैं बिल्कुल वही कहना exactly because I had left sports for good.
नहीं तो
yes.
तो मैं यहाँ पे मैं एक बात कहना चाहूंगी. डेस्टिनी के लिए एक बात कहना चाहूंगी कि ईश्वर पे अगर भरोसा है तो जो किस्मत में लिखा है वो पाओगे. लेकिन अगर खुद पे भरोसा है तो ईश्वर वो लिखेगा जो तुम चाहोगे.
बहुत अच्छे, बहुत खूब. Dr. Batra, we have a lot of questions for you. So I'm sorry, we are limitation of time only. So from the you actually got a call, an invitation for the IOC membership. That's destiny. That's huge. Kitne dunya people would give their left hand and their right hand to become an IOC member and probably write off all their wealth to the IOC. And
just within 2 years of being in the international forum, that's all.
That's wonderful. Absolutely. Therefore, but I can tell you, I have worked with you. I have seen you. We have been colleagues. I've seen whatever you described from your hockey days in Jammu and Kashmir to the IOC. I know your career personally very well. And I've seen that you have certain qualities that attract people to give you the opportunities. So कर खुदी को बुलंद इतना कि हर रजा से पहले खुदा तुमसे खुद पूछे है बंदे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. So you called your destiny to yourself. That is a lesson for our youngsters, for people striving to achieve big dreams. Now I will move this on to what would be, now we come to Deepa ji. You have faced great physical adversity in your tumors, which led to you being paralyzed from your chest down. You're a wheelchair athlete, and but yet you managed to overcome and win an Paralympic silver medal in shot put. So what do you attribute your success to? Destiny, great support system, or sheer hard work?
So the fact is that there is no shortcut to success. And let me tell you, no success can be defined as an individual thing. It is always a result of a teamwork. When you are among a team which has the common goal and the common dream and the common vision as yours, I think that leads to a wonderful success story. But of course, I would also give a lot of credit to the fact that I have never lost my positivity. I have been consistent and passionate about what I do. So the passion and consistency is also a very, very important ingredient, because adaptability to change. For me, I started off as a swimmer. For 3 years, I was swimming. And then I realized that in spite of all my passion, hard work, diligence, I'm not in the right sport. So there was a reality check. I shifted gears to athletics. At the age of 40, I held the javelin. And just when I was mastering the art of javelin, making Asian records, reach world number 2, and I was hoping to get a Paralympic medal for my country, my event changed to shot put for Rio 2016. So it was a never give up attitude.
Wonderful.
Probably my purpose was larger than a personal goal, sir, because for me, winning this medal or being on the journey of Paralympic sport was more a medium to declare my abilities beyond disabilities. It was also my way of changing the mindsets and also impact the policies and attention towards parasports. Because to me personally, parasports gave me name, fame, money, job opportunity, and also the ability to declare myself very much alive, healthy, fit, as people had totally discarded my body as a body which had no bladder, no bowel control. People, as much as they were not accessible in their mindsets, and which is more a result of not having an accessible infrastructure around you. So if you see less of us, you don't accept, the clan of us as normal. So for
Yes.
me, I didn't want to, I wanted to redefine the word normal. I mean, what is normal?
Wow.
So I think that passion was huge, and then came the first ever medal. I'm holding it right here, sir.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, but this medal has also not just shattered a
I
glass
can sense
ceiling.
your sense of pride.
Yes,
What a
and I
great
got it at
moment
the age of
also.
46.
You know,
in
when
a
you
body
won
which
this
is-
medal, the whole nation was applauding you. We
Absolutely,
were all
sir.
on television. We
This
watched your
medal,
show.
this medal is not just a Deepa Malik's medal, sir. This created a revolution in the country. This was like a renaissance towards parasports.
Yes,
And
it was.
age was no barrier, gender was no barrier, disability was no barrier. And at the same time, sir, this medal is also a paradox. It came as a reality check that it took 70 years for an independent nation to make a female Paralympic medal, the only one in the country as of now. So
Yes.
we
The
have
first
to
and
wake up, and we have to create infrastructure, policies, funding, and an atmosphere which applauds parasports as mainstream, so that we don't take another 70 years to make another medal for a female athlete in India to win.
Wonderful. I think also infrastructure and all is fine, but I think the realization in society that a para athlete can bring equal glory for the nation. So that recognition you have certainly brought awareness of. My next question is to you again.
We don't go there with a different national flag, sir. The flag is the same.
Absolutely.
The national anthem is the same.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. The world is giving you the recognition you deserve. Now, may I ask you, Deepaji, who inspired you? Did you have an idol? Did you have an inspirational figure? And what did you get from that person and internalize it? Because somewhere, some person, some persona impacts us, whether known to us or unknown to us, a story or a fictitious story or a person, real life. So who was your idol and inspiration, and what did you learn from that? What do you take away?
So I think I would definitely say my father. My father, somebody who always led by example. My father, somebody who inculcated the habit of punctuality, of valuing your time, of being able to identify your sources of happiness, which means he inculcated hobbies in us, because he always said that these sources of happiness are the ones which make your soul smile. You could be in any kind of situation, but if you know how to make your soul smile through those sources of happiness, which eventually are nothing but your hobbies. So I'm very, very grateful to him, the way he has brought us up. And very proud to say, sir, that it was the same year. We are two siblings. I have an older brother in the Indian Army. And in 2017, both of us got the President Award. He won the Sena Medal and I got the Padma Shri. So there must be something right that gentleman has done in our lives. teaching us
Absolutely.
value.
You have defined it, and we have no doubt that he was the man who built you and was your inspiration, was your
Yes.
guide and mentor. And I'm sure you, with now becoming into the administration as president of the Paralympic Committee of India, will also play a role to mentor and to guide and inspire people. I have
But
had you over
So my
to our
takeaway from my
university.
my takeaway from my father was lead by example.
Wonderful.
He always said that your children or your team will never be who you want them to be. They will be who you are.
Yeah, very
So
nice, very nice.
that's my takeaway from him, sir, and that's what I follow always.
You know, I remember when you came to our university before you became an Olympic athlete, medalist. I requested you a few years ago. You came to the BML Munjal University, spoke to the students, and even then they were inspired by your achievements. So today, with a much higher achievement and acknowledgement and honors, you certainly are an inspirational figure, and I think you can play a great role in nation building.
I'll do my best.
In spite
I'll
of
do my
being
best.
with huge difficulties, physical, but you overcome them. So, Batrasa, may I now come to? I have a question for you. I am sorry, I thought 1 hour बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, but it seems we are going to fall short because I have a lot of questions, and yet the public is also sending in some questions, which we'll take up towards the end because I don't want to break the flow right now. But certainly we will honor them. So, Bhattaji, you occupy 3 positions as IOC member, as President FIH, and President IOC. Now, how are you going to leverage these positions to the advantage of India, Team India, to increase medals in the Olympics, which we are very poor, and also to restore the glory of Indian hockey, which is anyway your passion? So, how would you leverage these positions?
As the president of international hockey, that comes the entire world, so I cannot do anything specifically for India. So I leave that position out. But as IOC member, what I can do is that, and I'm already doing, is that get India into focus. And how do you get India into focus? How to change the opinion of people about India is that we are getting the IOC session 2023 into India, and we are bidding for the 2026 Youth Olympics also. That is where the IOC, until you get events in India, get people of the country involved. So that's how the sports culture also built up. Now, as IOA president, I do have a lot of things in mind, and I'm still falling short of time how to move them forward, because right now I have kept my target for 20, now it's 21 Olympics as 2 figure, that is 10 or plus 10 medals. Because right now we have qualified for almost 50 medal playing events till now. And the athletes that have qualified is 80. But by the time all the qualifications are closed, I think we should be about 120 plus contingent, 25, 30, 120 or 130 for athletes, and keeping the other support staff and all, it will be about 175, 80.
A big contingent.
What bothers me about medals is that the events where the maximum medals are, that is swimming, which has 50 plus medals, and you multiply it by 3, it's 150 plus medals in every single Olympics. We don't get a single medal. And it is unfortunate, whether independent India or British India, not a single swimming athlete has gone on qualification basis. There's a quota of 2 people. If you don't qualify, you get 2. And unfortunately, for this Olympics, we don't have a women swimmer who need to meet the minimum standards. So that is the level of swimming in India, which I am really bothered about, swimming and aquatics. Athletics is picking up. They have about 45 plus medals. So that's picking up. So we are doing a little bit better in most of the events. Again, cycling has 22 medals. They are nowhere again. So these are few of the big ticket events where I am focusing upon how to get them activated for 24 and 28. So that is all I'm doing is as IOA president, where now we are setting up academies, identifying talent between 12 and 15. So shifting them to an area where the controlled training is going on along with education. So we are working out all these things with the Government of India Sports Authority under the Khelo India program, which has given all these facilities and benefits. Unfortunately, the states are not all that active. Sports is a state subject in our country. Government of India is doing a lot, barring 4 or 5 states, I think. Rest of the states are not very serious in sports. So that's a problem, but then problems are always there. So we have to overcome that and fight it out. And my target for 24 is 20 plus medals, and for 28, I've kept a target of 40 plus medals. And You know me very well. If I am not able to deliver, I am not the one who's going to stick onto the chair. I'm going to say, thank you very much. Find someone else who can tolerate these things. So I am going to be very clear, very straight, where the things have to go with the each and every federation, that either shape up or please shape out. That's my clear funda, and I'm not compromising on those lines. You mentioned specifically about hockey. Hockey is my passion, and that is why I came back into sports again when I was called, and I concentrated on hockey. Hockey is a game which is very close to my heart, and I am certainly looking for a medal, at least from the men's team, in this 21 Olympics. Women team has gone up drastically. You may not agree with the ranking. I don't agree, because the ranking takes a period of 3 or 4 years to improve, because only 1 year ranking points go down. So I think I do see the women team also coming up in medal positions in Olympics in next 8 to 10 years time. Definitely they should be coming. But women have only qualified.
May I, because my next question is actually related to this itself, the prospects of India at the 2020 games. Even in 2021, they will be called the 2020 games. So, you know, a lot of our athletes had qualified. There were very good performances, world-class performances. Even in athletics, there were some hopes raised. Shooters, archers, boxers, weightlifters, and wrestlers. So there were some, and badminton has. So, but with this postponement, how would it affect our performance by a year's delay? And how will we ensure that the training, the intensity of training, foreign exposure, how will you ensure that, given these circumstances, to be able to be ready in prime form in 2021 for Tokyo? That's your challenge.
I understand what you are saying. I think in the first question, I answered few of the things, that training is already on with some people at SAI centers. They are not going onto the field because of social distancing and all, but their program in gymnasium, fitness, everything is being monitored. Whatever drills are being given, they are being monitored. Similarly, for shooting, I think most of the athletes have been provided shooting facilities at their home, and they are being monitored. I continuously discuss with president of shooting. So they are being monitored, or they have a 3D platform on which they are monitoring that, and the coach is guiding them. So these things are on. Yes, they have the good points and they have the bad points also of delay of Olympics. Some athletes may have been given so much of load that they were to peak in July this year. So now to again get them off and again give them the load, age is also a factor, because you will be growing 1 year in age. Most of the shooters I know are 18, 19, so it doesn't bother them. But in some certain other games, the age is certainly a factor. And if you try to give the same load again, you can have injury also happening. So we have to be careful. I think it's only weightlifting where the athlete qualifies by name. Other places, it's all a quota for the NOC. So if there are changes, they will certainly be looked into. Now we are not doing any announcements or any names right now, but that will again start from January onwards. The rest of the qualification, right now we have about, we have qualified in 7 sports. There are qualifications going to be happening from January onwards in quite a few sports. So let's see how the things shape up.
Wonderful.
But as I say, and as I feel, and the way things are going on, there will be some international exposure from January onwards. Yes, certain athletes are already out of India. They didn't come back. Like the equestrian athlete is already out, who has qualified. The shooting ones are already doing training at home. So everybody is getting whatever best we can do. I think we are making efforts to do that for every single athlete.
No, I have no doubt, because I am personally aware that, but it is a challenge. That was my point. And you will all of us as a nation, the federations, the IOA, the SAI, ministry, the sportsmen, their coaches, we've all got to do better than the world, because this crisis, don't forget, is also affecting other athletes and countries. So therefore, I think this may be, if we are smart, if we can overcome them in a smart way through technology or through social distancing, making good arrangements for their practice, we can actually take some advantage. So that is very encouraging to hear that you're doing all that. Now, may I come to you, Deepaji? You have been elected as the president of the Paralympic Committee of India. Now, how would it impact your sporting career? We were hoping for another medal, and here you've gone into sports administration and become, like Batraji now, aspiring to reach the top of the world in the administration. But how would you manage this? Are you sacrificing your career as a sports girl?
I think this opportunity which has come my way was, again, I would say the destiny did play a role in it also, because post 2018 and having made my third consecutive Asian record, which I have held since 2010 Asian Games. Unfortunately, in 2020, in my disability category, discus has come as the major event. And my personal expertise and my body medically is tuned to do shot put and javelin. So a side jerk of taking out the discus, the impact was coming, the rotation impact was coming on my cervical region, and I was already told not to undergo the training for discus. Medically, I was held back. So I had really no milestone set for myself as far as the international competition calendar is concerned. And it was
But
also
what about the Asian Games? The Asian Games will have shot put para.
Yes.
Asian
So
Games. How would you manage that?
like I'm saying, the athlete in me is still alive because I have hardly spent any days sitting on the chair in the administrative role. So if you ask me right now, I would still say the athlete is more alive in me. And as far as the international ruling is concerned, they do allow officials to participate. I have checked with IPC, but I will have to correlate it with the local ruling and the local sports code, because this is the first time an athlete has come in an administrative role.
Of course. That is why I do see the challenge.
And if by then, because I'm 50 this year, and I shall be 18 till I die.
Half century.
So, and we have inspirational figures internationally playing till 63 years of age also. There is a German discus thrower lady who recently won the Olympic gold at 63 years of age.
I'm sorry, we are running out of time. I know you have lots of good stories to tell us and your competitors. But we will now need to move forward. We only have 15 minutes, out of which we would like to keep 10 minutes for question answers. So may I ask you, Batraji, how do you visualize India's rise in the future in the world of sport, especially Olympics? And what would your advice be to the youth? Can they adopt sport as a fulfilling career, or are we going to be laggards and therefore they need not waste their life getting into sport? What is your advice? How do you see the future?
What I see, how I see things is that the parents now are becoming much more open-minded, and they are allowing the children to choose their career the way it was in my time. We were forced, you do this and you do that. And the parents were more career-oriented rather than sports-oriented. So I think sports definitely is growing the way I see interest and things. Yes, the games will change. With most of the focus I see nowadays is coming on youth and what their preferences are, whether it is IOC or whether it is OC, Olympic Council of Asia, what the youth is liking and whether TV or is being focused on that age group of 15 to 35. So I do see the sports graph going up, and even the TV broadcast, when we monitor, it's the youth. So I think sports can certainly be a career for everyone. In India, if you want to make a career, you are in sports. All the public sector organization, banks, Khelo India is opening academies. There are job opportunities, everything after you have finished your career or during your career. And one thing which sports always teaches everyone, whether you make a career in sports or not, it teaches you discipline. It gives you fighting spirit. It gives you an attitude of never give up, fairness. So I think these are the few things which help you in your career, whether you are in sports or not. So I would always urge and ask everyone, go into sports. Sports has big opportunities. I was always a low-grade third divisioner in academics, but I have achieved something in my life.
Very candid, I must say.
So I have achieved whatever in sports. So sports is a thing which teaches you gives you so many values in life that you never give up, and that's very important in life.
And that's how you become an IOC member. 3 cheers. Now, I come to your personal level a little bit, both of you. Let me start with you, Deepaji. Can you share any event or incident that most impacted your life and which changed your life forever? An incident from childhood, from wherever, adversity, a good event. What happened? What changed? Is there any landmark waypoint in your life that you changed for the better?
So if I take one moment when I was walking and I was young, that would be a chapter in my 5th grade book, Nadia Comaneci. And as a 14-year, her journey to winning the perfect 10 in Montreal.
And by the way, Deepaji, by the way, just to interrupt you, sorry, I witnessed it. I was a member of the Indian team 76 Montreal Olympics, and I saw the first time a 10 out of 10, a perfect score by Nadia Comaneci. Yeah, please go on. And she's also an IOC member now with Batraji.
Wow. And somewhere, you know, that dream of being a sports person of that esteem, I think that was the first time I ever, it stayed with me somewhere at the back of my mind. Of course, I could not do it. I got married, but I could really achieve that dream. And the life-turning moment was when I was winning my TOYSA award for sports. It was handed over to me by Nadia herself.
Oh, really?
And I got an opportunity to visit Montreal in one of my motivational speeches trips. I went there and I actually went to visit the Olympic Center of Montreal and stood there, and I could really feel myself shivering and crying because I could see life come a full circle. So that was definitely a very huge moment for me.
Yeah, that's great. These are very vivid, you know, when you, Batraji, what about you? Can you pinpoint something that was emotionally or something that challenged your mind or set a big dream?
Something happened in my life, a tragedy which taught me one important thing, few important things in life, that I was a very hot-headed, egoist, short-tempered, everything you can say, and I was not a person,
very candid. Again, I must say, you are very open about yourself.
A person not to be friendly with, very rough to talk to. But that incident in life changed me that don't be egoist, be grounded. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Great advice for youngsters. Let's hear it.
Just be grounded. These three things I would say, which really teach you a lot. Humility is very important. Humility, hard work, and honesty, and you'll never feel let down in life.
I hope the youngsters will listen to your very, very good advice. Now, Deepaji, what are your personal interests and hobbies? Let the listeners know Deepa as a person, as a woman, as an individual.
I always say that hobbies are nothing but sources of happiness, which help you reboot and restart your system at any time, any adverse time. And thankfully, my love for wheels helped me accept the wheels of the wheelchair. When I say wheels, I used to love riding bikes, and I was an adventure motor rallist. And fortunately, I could reclaim my life even in chest below paralysis. I have adventure records. I have driven in Desert Storm, Raid the Himalaya car rallies. I have driven to the highest motorable roads. I loved swimming. That became my passion and took me to sports again. I love cooking. I really love cooking. And yes, so my first thing to declare ability beyond disability was I started running a garden restaurant in 2003. And 2003 to 2010, it's only for the Commonwealth Games and then converting us into a serious sports career. I left 10 years ago. I closed my restaurant. And I think I love poetry. I write a bit of poetry.
I heard about that. Can you narrate some stanzas? I believe you write poetry.
I write some poetry, and I think.
Would you with the constraints of time, I'll recite
a very small poem which I have very recently written. Of course, like I shared, today is the day I lost my father, and this one is dedicated to my father. It's also dedicated to the COVID-19 times when there was a lot of talk about why should we light a lamp, and Honorable Modi ji said that we should all come out and light a lamp. And that was the thought behind writing this poem dedicated to my father. And if you know my name, it's Deepa.
Yes.
And this is about why my father called me Deepa. Was deep si prajwalit, sakaratmak ko samarpit. वीर स्वभाव से गठित बिटिया तुम ऐसी होना, ज्ञान से दूर करना अंधकार, जुर्म का न सहना प्रहार, मानवता का करती रहो प्रचार। बेटी तुम ऐसी होना, हृदय से हर डर को हराना, जीत के ही सर्वदा दीप जलाना, कर्मठता की शक्ति को बढ़ाना। बेटी तुम ऐसी होना, न करना कभी स्वयं की बड़ाई, सीखते रहना, खूब करना पढ़ाई, अंधकार पे करना रोशनी की चढ़ाई। बेटी तुम ऐसी होना, आग की ज्वाला सा, ज्योति के उजाला सा, दीपा रखा है मैंने नाम तुम्हारा, जीवन के संघर्ष से कभी डर न जाना। दीपा बेटी मेरी, तुम सदा उम्मीद का एक दिया जलाना।
Absolutely amazing. You're a multifaceted, multi-talented Deepa. We are very proud that we are born in the same country as you, I must say. Batra ji, koi short dasso jaldi mere time kata apne kole sawal lene hain public pe. Let's have some to know you as a person. What is dear to your heart? What stirs your passion?
Well, dear to my heart is sports. That's the only passion I've taken up. बचपन में बहुत थे. I wanted to learn guitar. I failed. I wanted to do painting. I failed miserably. So I learned singing. I was a miserable failure. So sports is the only thing I'm passionate about, and I can do anything for sports. You can wake me up in the middle of the night. I'll dress up and come to you. I mean, that's the kind of passion I have for this sport.
So single-minded passion of sport.
Absolutely.
And promotion of sport.
No distraction.
That's wonderful. And it's really that's what drives you to excel. Now I'm just going to go on to our question section, and there are lots of questions and we have very little time. So let me choose now. I'm sorry if this I will address to Batra ji. Does Indian football also need a private body like BCCI to ensure India participates in World Cup, means qualifies in the future? Batra ji.
No, it doesn't need BCCI. See, you have football, you have to come into the world ranking. The world ranking has certainly improved. I think from 160 now you are in somewhere in 90s. The basic structure of football, I believe, through this ISL and with Reliance also joining in with the All India Football Federation. I think things are on the up track, I would say. But if you think that to be in the top 20, you can do it in next 3-4 years, I don't think it's possible. First, you need to make sure that you are in the top 3-4 in the continental area, Asia. So I think if you give football maybe another 15 odd years, then you would see football graph really up in India.
Right. I thank you, the listener. That question was from Siddhant Manu. Now there is another one from Rajiv Kumar. It says, Batra ji, thanks for being so modest, but you have achieved everything in an unparalleled administrative quality. I personally witnessed you. This is the most beautifully conceptualized, etc. Kudos to you. So that's hardly a question. It is kudos to you for organizing the World Cup at Bhubaneswar.
Thank
so
you.
now
Thank
I'll
you.
go on to Shivjot Gill. She's a sports psychologist, and she's pursuing her doctorate from OP Jindal Global University. She says, considering this, I will, I think, pass it on to, let's see who the question is for. Considering mental health of athletes and consistent sports career progression as to the fundamental principles of IOC, how successful has India been to fulfill that? Please comment. So the fundamental principles of the IOC about consistent sport career progression for mental health of athletes. So I think, Batra ji, you will have to just try and answer that one.
I would say off late, for the last, I would say now 5-6 years or something, this mental health has also become a very important part of sports. If you say how good we are in India, I think we are lacking far, far behind in this. This is something which is required, and especially in the individual sports, you really need to have mental trainers or what is psychological trainer, whatever you call them. We call them mental trainers, to make sure that the people who are going in for that kill event or that right time, they are really mentally focused and cool and calm down when they go into that. So I think it's becoming a very important part, and we in India are much, much far behind, and we need to really look into this, and I am actually on this job.
And I will second that
Yes.
definitely, Batra sir's comment, because even if I take my own example, I was learning a new skill, shot put, at the age of 46 years, a time when I was menopausing, at time when there was a lot of doubt around me. Social media is very active, media is very active. You are exposed to a lot of comments and opinions. And just before I was to go for Rio Paralympics, I was dragged to the High Court by another athlete, para-athlete woman. So there was a lot of mudslinging in the media. And so, however much I had trained physically, I had to really cope up a lot mentally. And if I had not had a very good mental trainer who taught me how to remain in focus and in good mental health, I probably would have not been able to get this medal for my country. So a
Wonderful.
lot of
There
focus
is,
is required there.
you
Yes.
you second, and you have actually proved that the mental training, mental
Yes,
aspect is important.
I would
So-
absolutely give 50% of credit to mental trainer,
Mental
as much
training.
as I give it to my coaches or my
All
gym
right.
trainers. Yeah.
All right, Shivjot Gill, I think you got wonderful answers from both Batraji and from Deepa Malik. So your career, you have a lot of opportunities, I see. Now there's another question, Batraji. What are your plans to bring hockey to the community? I also feel, Batraji, that I second this question, that while hockey is progressing at the national team level, but I see lack of it in colleges and universities. How can we bring about hockey back to communities?
See, if you see from last year, the university games have again got revived and started, maybe actual university games, not the bogus ones, after a gap of almost 30 years. We had this Khelo India University Games. School games or youth games have already started. See, what has happened is that in total universities all over India, there are only 6 synthetic turfs for hockey. There must be hundreds of universities all over India. In school, there is none. All schools all over India, not a single synthetic turf. But in the international hockey arena, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to shift focus. One is to waterless turf, and second, why not back to grass? There are certain countries which cannot afford turf. So we are trying to work out on tournaments which can also be played on grass, which have international acknowledgement. And we have also done a policy of shortening the game to 6-a-side. So, 6-a-side team, where, sorry, 5-a-side, not 6-a-side. 5-a-side, where hockey can be played now, that weekend games in your mohallas and everywhere you can play on the road. So those kind of things also are going to be happening, and beach hockey game is also starting. So a lot of things are going to come up. You will see all these things shaping up in next 1 to 2 years.
All right, thank you. Deepaji, I'd like to ask you, hang on, and I think that question, there are lots of questions. There was something I saw for you. When is your, there's somebody, Amol Jetapakar. I'm sorry if I pronounced his family name wrong.
That's my biggest fan, sir. He's been following for the past 17 years.
Well,
17 years is not a small time for a kid to follow you, sir. He was my first fan.
Okay. So the question for you is that of a typical fan. Deepa Malik ma'am, biopic movie kab banegi?
Biopic movie ke rights are with Farhan Akhtar and Ritesh Sidhwani, and that's the Excel Entertainment. They have taken with that. We have done scripting, but well, I won my sport medals at a very unconventional age. So I wonder if any mainstream heroine wants to act as mother of a 22-year-old and then win a medal. So let's see who's courageous enough to play my role.
Ah, no, wonderful. It'll be a challenge, I can tell you, because
yes,
I think, why don't you,
others are waiting.
Deepaji, why don't you play it yourself? You're like a Miss Sports girl anyway, Miss India. Para Miss India or something.
I think that answer probably producers will be able to answer better, because they won't make a movie which won't sell, sir.
No. Your story.
I have done my bit by.
But if you could, Deepaji, I'm just short of time, so I'm sorry. Yeah. Who would you like to see play your role? Which actress can do justice to Deepa Malik?
So I think this question is best answered by the experts. I'm not the expert to judge that.
You're being very polite and correct. So, okay, now We are just running out of time. We are actually just completed our 1 hour.
Gurveer, I just saw a question flashing on my screen.
Which
about
one is
why,
it?
About the athletes' nourishment. Why is it not being given?
Okay,
properly?
I didn't see that. Go ahead, please. Go
Can
ahead,
I
answer
answer?
that.
No, I'll just tell them.
Who's the question from? Please take the name.
I don't know. I just saw it and then it vanished
Okay.
from my screen. So it must be
Okay.
you are the moderator. So I just want to tell everyone the athletes' nourishment is very strictly taken care of. We have scientific advisors who we call them scientific advisors. They plan the diet and there is no compromise on diet. If there anybody has any misconception that athletes are underfed or not given the correct diet, that's absolutely incorrect. Please correct your information. Every athlete is given a planned diet based on we do their blood analysis, everything upon their body requirements, supplements, etc. So no athlete is being given anything less than what the athlete's body requires. So please
Wonderful.
be very clear on that.
So that's at par with international standards.
Absolutely.
All right.
Depending upon his body
So-
requirements, the load is put on him. The
Yes.
diet matches absolutely that.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a lovely, happy note to end on for everybody. Now, I think we should, all of us, in the conclusion, firstly, I would like to thank you both, Deepaji, Narendra Batraji. It was very interesting, very informative for me also, and I'm sure the listeners who are tuned in would have enjoyed it. I think we end by paying a tribute to our COVID-19 warriors, as it's been called. That is our medical, our police, our essential service, our grocery stores, and all the workers and the essential power people, and all of those people of India and the world actually, who have gone out of their way, put their lives on the line to make our unbearable lockdown bearable as possible. So I think we should salute them. What would you like to say to them? Your message, Narendra Bhai Sahab.
I can only say with folded hands, thank you very much. You are doing great service to the nation. Please keep it up. We need it. We need your support. I know certain wrong things have happened with doctors or police force. That is not required. The people should behave properly and respect them. And thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
Deepaji.
Gurveer sir, before I give a message for them, I want to give a message to Munjal University.
Oh.
Thank you for getting the president of Paralympic Committee of India along with the president of IOA, because this declares my country inclusive. This declares my country absolutely respecting the Paralympic sport as mainstream, and I extend my heartfelt gratitude from the entire fraternity of Paralympic sport. And secondly, coming back to our COVID-19 warriors, I think my message would be first, a thank you to them, and second, an appeal to all the fellow citizens of our country to support them by taking good care of themselves, by following the medical advisory around the COVID-19, wear a mask, keep the social distancing, and continue to practice good habits, healthy habits, so that we are not burdened on our COVID warriors.
Right. Thank you very much. I would have loved to continue this, but the time is a constraint. So I thank you both once again, and Deepaji especially for acknowledging BML Munjal University's interest in sport. We are a serious academic institution, but we take sports as a great building block of a good human being. Our products, the students, the alumni going out will make their mark in the world, and sports would have contributed to their character building. I thank you both for a wonderful, wonderful conversation today. We hope to see you again on campus. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.